Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. It's been a while. I actually meant to see this movie on Friday, but I actually got caught up in the release of my own feature, which was the culmination of like the webisodes of all of my short films over the last few years. And the reason why I call it a feature is because I was able to combine them all into like an hour and a half long like feature-length film. And last Friday I just released the whole thing, or scheduled it to release. But enough about that. I'll put a link to that in the description. But today I went to see the last Voyage on the Demeter. Like I said, I've been trying to see this for the last few days, but it just wasn't lining up with my schedule until today. I kind of already knew what was going to happen in the movie, or at least like most of what was going to happen. Jeez. Well, I kind of figured what was going to happen, because I read the original Bram Stoker novel. I watched I believe it was Francis Ford Coppola's version of Dracula, the one with Gary Oldman and Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder. And I remember there being like a small scene in that movie where like it shows the ship going to London and Dracula breaking out of his crate of dirt to kill the crew so that there's no one else on board. But here you get like a full 2-hour length film of it, and the way that they do it, I think it's great. I've heard some people online call it like Alien, but with Dracula, and instead of in space it's at sea. And I sort of see that, but I think it's more like Jason Takes Manhattan, but done right. And what I mean by that is, in Jason Takes Manhattan, well, we don't actually get to Manhattan until like the final 10 or so minutes, right? So pretty much the entire film is where Jason is on that stupid cruise ship. Well, here it's done right simply by the fact of the title. It's not called like Dracula goes to London and then like he's only in London for literally 1 minute. I'm not even kidding. Like here like the title actually tells you what it's about. It's like the last voyage of the Demeter, so almost the entire film takes place on that ship, right? There are some scenes outside of it, such as like the beginning where these people are transporting the crates to the ship, and then the ending where, well, he actually does get to London. That's not a spoiler because it happens in the novel. But like I said, like Jason Takes Manhattan, but if it was Dracula, and if they didn't do false advertising. So, getting on to like the characters. I mean, Dracula's great. Another reason why I call this Jason Takes Manhattan done right is because like Dracula's basically a slasher villain here. Like this isn't the Dracula that like we've all seen in all the movies, where he's like cool, charismatic, he kind of regularly turns people into like other vampires or his familiars, like in Renfield. This is like Dracula at his most feral and primal, and his appearance even mirrors that, where like he barely looks even human throughout the entire film, except for the end, and I'll get to that in a second. But this is the first Dracula that actually looks like he's scary, right? I do think that they should have saved the reveal of his appearance for when people actually watch the film. Like I don't think they should have edited the trailers or TV spots or anything to actually show what Dracula looks like, because it's kind of like when Venom first came out, where Sony actually tried their hardest to like not reveal what Venom looked like or what Riot looked like, for that matter. And they edited the symbiote out. They edited like any piece of them out. Like there's a scene in the trailer where for Venom, I mean, where you know how in the first movie when Riot takes control and like he kills everybody at the Life Foundation. Yeah, in the trailer they completely edited the symbiote out, so you don't actually see what's attacking the people there. And the only reason why they had to finally reveal what Venom looked like in the marketing was because it was either Dr. Pepper or Coke or whatever that decided to just show Venom's face on their bottles. So at that point they just decided that the jig was up, so they might as well show him on the trailers. And I feel like they should have done that here with Dracula, because like there's not a lot of people who know about like the Captain's Log, as it's called in Dracula. From what I heard, like those scenes are like heavily they're either edited or completely taken out of a lot of versions of the book. And like even when people do read the Captain's Log, like they never really get like an actual account of what Dracula looks like, just that he's a monster and a beast, right? So I feel like they really could have played into like the grotesque horror of like what Dracula looks like, and like save it for the actual film instead of just constantly revealing it in trailers. And speaking of, I feel like they show Dracula too much in this film. Like there's a lot of scenes where scenes that just show Dracula basically chilling, like around the ship. That's probably not the right word for it, but they constantly show shots of him where he's basically just like keeping to himself, pretty much. Like imagine if they did that for if they did that for Jason or Freddy Krueger. And like I know that this is like a classic movie monster, but they really did play it up like Dracula being basically like a slasher villain, because like they even said it in the film, like he was literally picking them off one by one in the film. If that's not what a slasher does, then well, I don't know what is. But anyway, so moving on from the whole Dracula thing, the characters are all right. I don't remember. I honestly didn't recognize any of the actors except for David Michelin. I don't even know if I'm probably butchering his name, but he's been around for a while. Like I originally first saw him in The Dark Knight as that one guy who was working for the Joker, and then he kept constantly coming back in like DC projects such as The Flash. He was the Polka Dot Man in the Suicide Squad. I recently saw him in Prisoners. And then he's also made himself known in like a lot of horror movies, such as The Boogeyman. I don't know. It's weird because like I feel like I'm just seeing him more and more, like in a lot more movies, especially in the last couple of years. And he was and he voiced the Calendar Man in Batman: The Long Halloween. Yeah, he's great as always. The captain was cool. The cabin boy was all right. I mean, it's a child actor, so child actors, at least in my opinion, are hit or miss. This one was okay. The main character, Clemens, was alright. I feel like they kind of shoehorned in a little bit of his backstory in relation to the whole Dracula thing, where like his whole motivation is about like trying to like make the world make sense, and it's kind of explained that some of that has to come up has to do with like him being like one of the first black doctors for that time period. Although like it's only really brought up like once or twice, and other than that, like I mean, most of everyone treats him like any other member of the crew. So I don't know. I thought that whole backstory thing was a little bit half-baked. Although the effort was kind of nice, because I don't remember a lot of the backstory for any of the other characters, to be honest, not even the captain. There's really not much else to say about this one. The lighting was great. The scenes where when they do show Dracula, like it was really creepy and atmospheric, especially like the harsh shadows and like the lighting sometimes. Speaking of Dracula, getting back to him, I already said that he was like as most feral and primal, but he's still like incredibly smart to like, I mean, again, he picks them off one by one, like he's picking his targets, and he does it in an intelligent way too, where like one of the recurring things that happens in the film is that if you knock on the wood, like that will get the other crew's attention if you need help. And Dracula does this, I think, at least twice in the film to lure his victims to him. And I thought that was a cool thing. And then like towards the end, when they figure out that like Dracula is like this monster that's been like killing them off one by one, and they need to stop him before he reaches London, and they set a trap for him. Like he's actually smart enough to like not spring the trap, and he's actually able to kill them before like he's actually able to kill them like and not he's actually able to evade their trap, right? And score a couple more bodies for himself. Speaking of, there's actually a final fight against the survivors against Dracula, and it's actually kind of cool. Like the two of them are kind of basically tag teaming Dracula. Even when he gets the drop off on both of them. But it was a nice fight to see, especially because going back to the whole slasher thing, like you don't see a lot of slasher movies where it basically ends with like a full-on fight against the villain. Usually they have to outsmart the creature. There was really only one main issue that I had with the film, logic-wise, because everything else was fine. The music was okay. I mean, it wasn't anything that stood out, which is kind of weird, because the guy who composed the music, Bear McCreary, he's done music for a lot of cool films. The Child's Play remake is one of them. Like, say what you want about that movie, but the music was awesome. But this one, it just felt, okay. Anyway, so going back to the whole thing that I feel like didn't logically make sense. So the whole story with the one girl from the trailers and the one who knows who and what Dracula is. Eventually she wakes up and like tells the doctor Clemens like what exactly is going on and everything. And the first thing I think of is like, so because they know that there is something aboard the ship, even if it's not Dracula, even if it's not like something supernatural, like there is something that's on the ship, killing the livestock, killing members of the crew, and they don't think to look. Like, they take the longest time to decide, like, oh, we should check all the crates, right? Like the way that Clemens finds Anna is that she falls out of one of the crates. So logically you'd think like, oh, you should check all the other crates for this Dracula character that Anna keeps talking about that is a freaking beast, right? No, they don't do that. They know he's on the ship. They know that he's killing the crew members. Like, the captain even says, like, oh, the devil is below decks. And they don't think to look in the crates until, like, almost towards the end of the film. And that to me is just stupid. I mean, yes, I do get that, like, some people have to be stupid in order for the movie to, like, go along, get to the conclusion, but the main character Clemens is a doctor. Like, he's made it pretty well known that he is highly intelligent, and again, he even says that he's not sure he even believes in this Dracula guy, but even he should think like, well, the girl was found in one of the crates, maybe we should check the other ones, right? Anyway, that's really the only nitpick that I have with this, with the movie. I will say that that I was actually proven right, where when I was watching one of the clips on YouTube, I got into a conversation with a few other YouTube comments where I was guessing that that the version of Dracula that was shown in the trailers and clips is Dracula's true form, right? And at the end of the film, like, we would see his human appearance. And I was completely right on that. Like, the girl Anna, she even says in the film that Dracula takes human form to hide his true nature, and that basically confirmed that that the version of Dracula that we see for most of the film, that's his true form, which, interestingly enough, kind of reminds me a bit of Count Orlok from Nosferatu. And it's not until, like, again, like the final couple minutes where we see Dracula's human form, and even then it kind of has this sort of like nightmarish appearance to him. But anyway, I'm just glad that I was right on this. But anyway, those are all my thoughts for the last Voyage of the Demeter. It's not the best Dracula film, but I think it's still pretty good. I do kind of wish that Dracula's human form at the end of the film would have been Nicolas Cage as a bit of a funny cameo from Renfield, but I don't know. I do think they probably could have pulled that off if they wanted to do that, where it wouldn't have made it look like too campy or anything. But anyway, those are all my thoughts on Last Voyage of the Demeter. I mean, if you're a fan of vampire movies, Dracula movies especially, and even if you're a fan of like horror movies and slashers, like, you'll probably find something to enjoy with this. But just to summarize, it was a pretty good. It was an alright film. It wasn't perfect. It had its flaws, but it still has something to sink your teeth in. But that's it for this review, and I'll see you guys in the next one.